ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतंगमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let us pray to Sri Ramakrishna. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate, who came to establish religion universal. Let us appeal to the Divine Lord to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I have chosen: why do spiritual practice? It's a very important subject which actually changes our course of life into sublime life of peace and happiness. People really want happiness and peace, but the ways and means they are adopting are totally wrong. As long as you are treading the worldly type of life, you will never be able to achieve real peace or happiness in life. But this hard fact people will come to know only after passing through the fire of suffering, fire of tragedies and situations. But some people do really grasp the situation and try to make corrections in their life. So the purpose of the spiritual activities and the spiritual retreats which we are conducting in Ganges from time to time is only to become aware of the fact of the importance of practicing spirituality. The more and more you go deep into the worldly involvements, the more and more you feel the need of spiritual life. Spiritual life is not possible unless you practice the spiritual ideals. So they are all connected, they are linked. We want the best food for the body, but we don't care about all the base thoughts and ideas with which we feed our mind. We are totally careless, utterly careless. allowing all dirty and rubbish thoughts into the mind and suffering later on. Consequently, we are only to blame, none else. We want to remove all the corns, pimples and blemishes from our skin, but we are not perturbed in the least over the thorns and weeds of jealousy, anger, lust and other vices in the ground of our heart. Our heart has become so thick and solid by impurities. It is really, really very difficult to have any understanding of spirituality. This rock-like impurities blocking the heart has to be removed by some method or other. We are worried about the whitening hair on our head, but we develop no concern if our finer feelings and sentiments get blurred and blunted as we go through life. We care for the superficial outside, making all sorts of stylish and fashions, trying to look better and fine, all superficial and not for the real inside. Really, we are not taking any care about our inner side. The real self is the inner self. True culture is the culture of thoughts, feelings, sentiments, motivations. Culturing of the bhava is the greatest culture. Bhava is one's feeling, one's attitude, one's inclination towards the world and fellow beings. The man with the noblest bhava is the best man in the world. But the ordinary man who is choosy in so far as material objects are concerned is quite indifferent when it comes to higher values. The student who passes out of school seeks admission in the most prestigious college in the town. The grown-up youth wants the best girl for his marriage partner, and the young lady pines for the best boy in her area. When a person goes shopping, his eyes naturally alight on the best suit length, the best saree, the latest camera, the most fanciful sunglasses, and so on. You always want to eat the most delicious food, read the most interesting novel, and see the most exciting picture. Whether you can afford it or not, all your desires are colored by this strong yearning for the highest and the best, in so far as material and down-to-earth objects are concerned. But talk about finer sentiments, noble thoughts, higher feelings, ethical and spiritual values. Only a few in 1,000 care for those richer values. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Lord Krishna has emphatically said in the Bhagavad Gita, 1 in 1,000 really strives for spirituality. Because only a few in 1,000 have that introspective vision capable of comprehending and appreciating these extra mundane values. All the material objects of this world are but the shell. The kernel is God. The kernel is the spirit. The average person of the world may think that he has done the wisest thing in buying the best car and acquiring the best cottage. But the car and the cottage are only the best among the shell pieces. They are shell after all. They are the husk, the kernel, the grain, the substance is elsewhere. This the ignorant person doesn't realize. The substance, the spirit, lies deep within the person. It can be attained only by removing all the dross that keeps it buried. Removing the dross is sadhana. In other words, practice. Practice, practice, practice. Without practice, you won't get anything about spirituality. Sadhana is nothing but the exercise of inner purification, antarshuddhi. External purification can be easily done by taking bath, by applying detergent on the skin. You look fine. But internal purification is not so easy. But before a person commences sadhana, he should very definitely know the purpose of doing sadhana. You must be very clear in your concept, in your understanding, in your application. And you must be very sincere and serious. Then everything comes very easy. If you don't take proper steps, even though you may struggle throughout the life, you will not be able to achieve anything. So in spirituality, everything is important, every step is very uplifting. Sadhana cannot be forced. A group of friends were discussing the utility of yogasanas. When one of them asked, the heart is already pumping blood to all parts of the body. It is already sending blood to the head. Why should I stand upside down to increase the supply of blood to the head? Many people ask questions in similar fashion while discussing yoga and spiritual practice. Why should I do japa? Why should I meditate? Why should I go to temple? They don't ask, why should I shave my face every day? Why should I cut my nails and hair? Why should I apply skin cream and hair lotion? Each person has his aims and ambitions in life. Ambitions. Ambitions can be devastating if it goes in a wrong way. Ambitions of most people are earthly, and naturally enough, their activities are earthly. They think whatever they do, whatever they attain in this mortal life, is the only thing to be done. This wrong notion is responsible for people becoming crazy. For the average person living in a humdrum life, it is certainly not necessary to send extra blood to the head, or to do japa, or to meditate, or to visit a temple daily. He can dispense with all these and still live an apparently successful life in his limited sphere of activity. Yoga is not necessary for him. Spiritual practice is not an absolute necessary for him. Because his mind is engaged in other things. He doesn't feel the need of spirituality. As long as he is in total darkness, he cannot get rid of suffering. Yoga is not essential for all, though it is open to all to practice. Yoga is not compulsory for the worldly person, though yoga can be helpful even in the pursuit of material aims. Yoga and sadhana are especially meant for those few among mankind who aspire to become spiritual, who aspire to become purified and uplift their life, who aspire to experience the realization of the truth. Sadhana is meant for that person who wants to get at the truth of things, who wants to become a saint, who wants to realize God. Realization of God means realization of the truth. Realization of the truth means realization of our inner self. Realization of the inner self means to know who am I. It comes to that point. Who is that real I? Who is behind all these phenomena? So sadhana is intended to those who want to become the cream of humanity, the elite of mankind. Sadhana cannot be thrust upon anyone. Unless you make up your mind, no amount of our telling you do this, do that will not work. First of all, there should be willingness. Yes, I must take up the spiritual practice. It starts from there. Without that strong will, your spiritual practice has not started, even though if you have attended, participated in hundreds of retreats. Even though you have heard so many Sunday services, still you are infant. No one can be compelled to do sadhana. You may be made to work or slave, but you can't be forced to do selfless service. You can be robbed, but you can't be dictated into doing charity of your own free will. You may be compelled by the law of the land to live in peace with your neighbors, but you can't be compelled to love all with cosmic compassion and purity of motive. Society and circumstances may force you to desist from immoral actions, but they can't prevent you from indulging in immoral thoughts. In other words, external compulsion cannot make you do sadhana or practice sadhana. Sadhana is a purely personal affair and can arise only out of your own individual volition and free will. Before embarking on a course of sadhana, before entering spiritual life, you should yourself feel the necessity to do sadhana. You should feel that your life is a void without sadhana. You should be missing something without sadhana. If this precondition prevails in your life, then only your sadhana can get off to a good start. Even those people who believe in God and religion, when they hear a discourse on the need for sadhana and God realization, begin to express grave doubts and ask, after all, how many can realize God? Perhaps one in billions. Who knows if I will be that one? The same persons who talk in this fashion take on a totally different attitude in respect of worldly pursuits. When a person buys a raffle ticket, he always hopes to win the first prize. Every one of the 1,000 and odd applicants for a single job applies in the hope that he might be selected. The participants in the annual Wimbledon or the Davis Cup round is encouraged by the thought that someday he might win the crown. When King Janak announced the Swayamvara of Janaki, every king and vassal who came to Janaka's court was surely hoping to win the hands of the pretty princess. Man is moved by hope. It is hope which sustains life and helps human effort. Ideas are many and different. The effort needed to attain different ideals also differs. The time and energy and skill needed to climb a small hillock is not comparable to the large-scale preparation and gigantic effort required to scale the summit of Everest or Kanchenjunga. The reward is always in proportion to the effort involved. The greater the effort, the larger the reward. Realization of the truth is the greatest goal and the highest attainment. There is nothing higher than that. Quite naturally, the highest attainment demands the greatest effort. The difficulty of the task should always be viewed and judged against the richness of the reward. Seen in perspective, even a lifetime of sadhana is no high price to pay for the priceless reward of realization of the truth. The person whose mind is set on the highest will not be deterred by the difficulty of the task. And then, in sadhana, the slightest effort is not wasted. All men may not realize God, but all true sadhakas will certainly register progress on the spiritual scale, commensurate with the individual effort put in by them. The participant in the Davis Cup round is no loser, even if he does not win the singles final. He may win many matches on the way. Similarly, the struggling sadhak can scale many spiritual heights even if it doesn't succeed in realizing God. Each little effort brings its own reward. Salpam upesya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even though you practice little spirituality, you will be protected from dangers. An hour of meditation brings in its own mental quiescence. A round or two of pranayama practice effects its own purification of the nadis or astral tubes. Listening to an hour's Sunday spiritual service will keep the mind occupied with elevating thoughts for the rest of the week. If you concentratedly hear and seriously think about it, even a few malas of japa, repetition of God's name, adds to one's inner spiritual strength. You have to build up your spiritual personality. You have to have spiritual nourishment. All these things are possible only when you undertake spiritual practices in all earnestness. Refusal to do sadhana on this score, that it is difficult, it is very difficult, is just making a lame excuse. The loser is a person who refuses. It betrays a lack of will. It betrays a total lack of appreciation of the wholesome and immense benefits which flow from sadhana. Nothing is difficult. The word impossible is not in my dictionary. Do you know who said this? Napoleon. What one fool can do, another can, says an anonymous proverb. Where there is a will, there is a way. Is not life itself difficult? And what does life yield for all the worldly effort? What does life yield for all the worldly effort? All of you have got that experience. All of you know what you are getting through this worldly life. And that is simply misery. And what does sadhana yield? If you do sadhana properly, with steadfastness, with earnestness, with yearning, health and peace. What does sustained spiritual effort yield? God. So everything is mathematically presented to show the importance of spiritual practice, the need of spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is a must. Concentrate upon doing the practice meticulously. Result will come by itself. You don't have to worry for the result at all. Result comes by natural law. It is nature's law. It cannot go against the law. If you do practice, you must get it. Do it good, get good result. Do it badly, get bad result. There is no ambiguity. There is no confusion there. It is true, sadhana is difficult. Nobody says sadhana is easy. But practice you must. You can't write sugar on a piece of paper and lick it. Don't you struggle to keep your health? To earn money? To win your favorite person? You are not ashamed to say yes sir, no sir in the office. You go to the airport to receive the guest of your office boss. You do so many despicable things to keep yourself in saddle. But when it comes to the question of doing sadhana, you yawn and gape and begin to say, oh, it is difficult. To earn money, man slogs in field and factory all day long. To please the lady at home, a person slaves all the time. To earn name and fame, he strains himself to the last drop of his energy. Even to get a secondary school leaving certificate, the youngster has to put in hard work at school for 11 or 12 years. Nothing comes by chance. Nothing is gained by accident. No pain, no gain, says a saint. How true it is. How true it is. In this world, Everything has got a price tag attached to it. If you want something, you must be willing to pay the price for it. You can't get something for nothing. It is against the law. If you say, I can steal, I can rob, even there, you must be willing to pay the price of robbery. You must be willing to pay the price of robbery, the risk of arrest and punishment. They say that in Malaysia, if you want to marry a Malaysian Muslim girl, and if you happen to be a Hindu or Christian or Buddhist, you must first get converted to the Muslim faith before you can marry her. Under the Malaysian law, this is necessary. In other words, you can get your girl if you can pay the price of your religion. That's the meaning. It's an old tale how King Edward VIII of England gave up his throne to marry his commoner wife. It is recent history that the people of Bangladesh obtained their political freedom with the blood of thousands of martyrs, with the chastity and family happiness of their girls and women folk. There was once a news in a newspaper, the real story of how in Africa, in a certain tribe, a girl declared that she would marry only that man who brought her the milk of a tigress, and how a certain youth who was mad after her fought with the tigress, grappled with it, and secured a couple of ounces of the animal's milk, a creamy yellowish liquid. The girl married him because he had paid her price. It has happened. It is not a simple fiction. Similarly, God realization has a price tag attached to it. The price of God realization is total sacrifice of everything. Tyage naike amrtatvamanashuhu, Upanishad says. Only through sacrifice you attain immortality, Upanishad says. Sacrifice of all. Nothing can be kept back. Everything has to be given up. All that you hold near and dear have to be sacrificed. You have to give up friends, give up relatives, give up name and fame and wealth and everything. That means, give up means give up attachment. Don't get involved. Don't get stuck up. You have to sacrifice your ego, finally. Ahankar. Nirmamo nirahankaro bhutva. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Nirahankaraha. You have to be totally free from the dirty ego, which is the cause of all suffering in this world. You have to give up your particularized individuality. Now you are Mr. So-and-so. If you want to realize God, if you want to assert your true position as God, you must cease to be Mr. So-and-so, etc. You must be willing to throw aside, to shake off this cloak of human being. You must cease to be Mr. So-and-so. When the little I in you ceases to exist, the God in you will shine in unclouded splendor. When the fake I dies, the real I shines. The real I is behind the fake I. Fake I appears like real one. Because we are influenced by the fake I, we are always in trouble. Wherever you go in the world. Whether you go here, whether you go to Himalaya, whether you go to India, whether you go to anywhere in the universe, you can't escape the offshoots of ahankar. You have to forego it. It's a great lesson. You should immediately grab it. Yes, I must try to get rid of this ego. First of all, you must become aware of it. 99% of the people are not aware. The problem is caused by the ego. To win a school certificate is not very difficult. More difficult it is to get a degree in college. Still more difficult it is to secure a research degree. Yet more difficult it is to win the coveted Nobel Prize. Infinitely more difficult is to acquire the badge of cordialization. You can imagine what an amount of spiritual struggle you have to do. It only means you have to struggle. You have to practice. Maybe for a few years, maybe for 1,000 janmas. Who knows? It depends upon the tendencies you have already built up in your inbuilt system. You know, you have got subtle body. This gross body is also the external covering. The gross body is the external covering of the inner body, what is called as subtle body, sukshma sharir. But all sorts of tendencies were built up in subtle body. Unless those tendencies are purified, you can't expect realization of the truth. That means we don't know how many types of bad samskaras are there inside. Some people even say, Swamiji, before meditation, before practicing meditation, I didn't have any problem. I was okay. But now after practicing a little bit of meditation, not that I am master in meditation, but little bit of practice of meditation, I feel so many bad thoughts coming into my mind. So many things happen, which I didn't anticipate at all. Like this. How can they come if they are not inside already? Bad thoughts are only the expression of the bad tendencies. That's all. You don't have to worry. It only shows they are moving forward in spiritual practice. Because all the bad samskaras are coming to surface. They are coming to go away. Don't think they are coming to give trouble to you. They give trouble only when you give attention to those bad samskaras. Ignore them. Udasinata. Udasinata. You have to be indifferent. God has given all these qualities in us. We are not applying properly. That's the problem. We don't want teacher. We don't want to do practice. Simply everything we want by magic. How can it be possible? Even if it is given to you by magic, you won't relish it properly. You may think it is humbug. So unless you are purified, there is no hope. So purification is possible only if you wholeheartedly enter into spiritual practice. So, you have the consolation that you do sadhana, that you undergo these difficulties for your own sake, not for anybody else's. Yes, you do not practice sadhana for anybody's benefit except your own. You are not doing a favor to any saint by following his teachings. God doesn't require you to build temples and churches to enhance or heighten his grandeur. He doesn't want. His grandeur cannot be enhanced. It is perfect already. It is full. It is Purnam. Absolute. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Upanishad says. Is already pure and perfect. Your spiritual activities, your spiritual practices are for your own benefit. One simple Brahma Sankalpa produced these countless universes. When the time comes, in the twinkling of an eye, you will realize the self and attain liberation. While you are in a dark room, you grope in the dark and almost endlessly search for the torch. You stumble over many things and knock your head here and there. At last you get hold of the torch, which you so frantically searched. Now no more of this groping in the darkness. No more trials and pains. Instantly there is light in the room. It is the search that takes a long time. It is the preparatory step in sadhana that takes a considerable time. Please note this fact. And then, even when you feel the truth is within your grasp, you ought to be vigilant till it becomes part and parcel of your consciousness, till you actually live in it. It is not enough if merely the light of truth illuminates a dark corner. You must live in it. When in a dark room, you light the lamp, darkness vanishes. But if you put the light out, the darkness returns. Till the sun rises, there is need for a constant flame of light in the room to keep it illumined. Similarly, in the dark cavern of your heart, there is lamp lit. There is a lamp lit. It is bhakti, devotion, or a little understanding of the omniscience, omnipresence and omnipotence of God. This gives sufficient light to see things clearly and understand the nature of this universe, the self and God. But if you put the light out by negligence or willful indifference to sadhana, in the false belief that you have attained the goal, you will again be enveloped by the darkness. You must keep the flame bright till the sun of self-realization arises within you. Then there will be light and light alone everywhere. The darkness has vanished forever. Light becomes part of the very nature. Darkness doesn't approach you. What was sadhana done with effort previously becomes swabhava, or second nature now. Bhakti is the aspirant's sadhana and the sage's swabhava. Sadhana becomes swabhava. Righteousness is the aspirant's sadhana and the sage's swabhava. The swabhava of the sage is to be righteous. There is a story. One saint was meditating on the bank of a river. Somehow a scorpion came and stung him. He saw it, it is scorpion. He simply took it and threw it away. He didn't kill it. After some time, again it came, again it bited him. It repeated biting him 3-4 times, but still the sage keep on putting the scorpion away. And somebody asked, "Sir, it's very funny. What is it you are doing? The scorpion is biting you every now and then, and you are simply taking it away and throwing it, putting it away somewhere. Again it's coming you. Why are you doing like this?" And Saint replies very nicely. "See, it is the nature of the scorpion to bite. My nature is to practice ahimsa. I don't want to hurt the animal. The animal's nature is like that. Poor animal, it doesn't know. It knows only to bite. But I, being an intelligent person, why should I behave like a scorpion to react?" That's the point. Apratikara manobhavam. That's called titiksha. Shankaracharya says titiksha is one of the main spiritual practices we have to undergo. Bear with all the problems and situations. Don't react. Don't become angry. Don't commit foolish crimes and things like that, influenced by anger. That's the meaning. So, swabhava. The sage will be well established in swabhava. So at no time, therefore, are these things given up. The aspirant studies and hears the divine. Therefore, study of scriptures, hearing of the sacred truths propounded by persons of wisdom, listening to the glories of the Lord, are never to be given up by sincere sadhakas at whatever stage of spiritual evolution they may be in. There's a commandment in the Upanishad. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. It's a commandment. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. The scriptures, the study of the scriptures should never be abandoned. Even to the last day of life, even before passing away life, one should keep reading scriptures. The message of the scriptures should be constantly heard. That's the purpose. And I have seen with my own eyes the Swamis. Whenever I would go and see the Swamis in their time, I have gone to see the Swamis in different times. Sometimes afternoon, sometimes night, sometimes 11 o'clock night. If Swamiji were not sleeping, what he would do? He would be reading some book. What is that book? Upanishad. Not your novels or fictions. Upanishads. The idea is constantly trying to establish the spiritual message in the heart. That's the idea. So, that's why they insist upon listening and reading. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyas. That's the discipline of studying scriptures. So spiritual practice is done with all earnestness. The more he advances in spiritual struggle, the more he becomes humble. He doesn't become egoistic. He doesn't feel that he is a great learned person in the world. On the other hand, he feels that he knows nothing. In spite of great learning, he thinks he has not learnt anything. He is a person dead while alive, who does not feel a compelling eagerness to listen to the stories of the Lord's glories or to spiritual discourses. You can stave off old age and even death itself by preserving within you the youthful, zealous and devout eagerness to learn more, to practice more, and to realize more deeply the great spiritual truth which is inexhaustible in spite of having been extolled and expounded by numberless saints, sages and seers from time immemorial. Moreover, forget not that on all sides you are surrounded by materialistic influences. So much devastating influence. It is like pollution of air. How much air is polluted? Unimaginable. In the same way, materialistic influence also pollutes the mind. Mind is full of pollution. If you are slack even for a day, the evil forces around you would find their opportunity and play havoc within you. The ball dropped on the top of the staircase takes less than a split second to reach the ground, whereas it took much longer to take it up. In a moment of heedlessness, much could be lost. Life is short. Time is fleeting. And you can't afford to lose an inch of ground that you have gained with so much effort in your battle against a formidable foe, Maya, or Satan, or the evil mind. Side by side with your work, you should do japa, meditation, study of the scriptures. Do not let this monkey mind have a minute's respite. It is here that satsang and spiritual literature come to your great help. The scriptures are your saviors. How many sublime thoughts are brought by them to your very doors? Study them carefully. Underline the sentences that strike you as having a direct bearing on your life and reflect over them in leisure moments. Thus would you find that you are able to surmount many obstacles and avoid many pitfalls. Is the mind disinclined to read these passages over and over again? That is Maya's potent weapon to put you to sleep. Therefore, beware. Beware. Are you not taking the same food daily over and over again? You will have to go on reading and rereading the self-same spiritual sentences over and over again till they are indelibly engraved on the tablet of your heart, till they become part and parcel of your inner nature. Then will a fortress of Nirodha Samskaras be erected within you. Repetition gives strength and pushes the ideas into the innermost chambers of your heart. Then the ideas will percolate your subconscious mind. The evil thoughts lurking there will be scorched and annihilated. You may not even know what wonders have been effected within you. Such is the salutary effect of repeatedly studying the same spiritual texts. That's why our ancestors have insisted on our ceremoniously reading texts like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Ramayana, Bhagavad, and other spiritual texts daily, regularly, with faith and devotion. One of the Sanskrit Vedic scholar in Bangalore, who was teaching me Vedas, he used to say, Swamiji, I have to chant Rigved. He was a Rigved Ganapati. I have to chant every day without fail some portion of the Rigveda. And it is marked also where to stop. You can't simply stop anywhere and everywhere. Every day you have to chant, and there's a mark where you have to stop. Next day you have to continue from where you have stopped previously. Like that you should go for 15 days. And then again go next chapter. Like that the whole Rigveda has to be chanted again and again, over and over again. The result is the whole Rigveda was on his mouth. Without seeing book, he is chanting the whole Veda easily, without any loss of memory. So, that's very important. Doing regularly, studying regularly will augment your inner strength, and you will grow stronger and stronger and ascend higher and higher on the ladder of yoga sadhana. When thus the entire inner nature is transformed into divine nature, then a single effort to meditate will lead you to nirvikalpa samadhi and super consciousness. You will then realize God in the twinkling of an eye. Be regular in your sadhana and maintain spiritual daily. Get up at Brahma Muhurta, which is prescribed as 4 a.m. morning, and meditate. Do japa and kirtan. Wherever there is spiritual gathering, try to be present there and take active part. You should never miss a single opportunity if you could possibly help it. Regularity is the most important factor in sadhana, without which progress will not be marked. Take notes of all the sublime thoughts imparted to you at the time of hearing the discourses. Contemplate over the important points and put them into practice in your daily life. Purify your heart through service and charity. Worship the Lord through japa and meditation and obtain His grace. Cultivate vairagya or dispassion. Equip yourself with the knowledge of the fourfold means of Vedanta sadhana and march forward to your goal, moksha or kaival. It's very important that we should do spiritual sadhana. Sri Ramakrishna practiced spirituality for 12 years, I think 14 years, before he could get the vision of Divine Mother Kali. Then afterwards, after that realization, whatever spiritual sadhana he would take up, in 3 days he would get the result. 3 days. Even Advaita sadhana, which was given to Sri Ramakrishna by Totapuri, he got that Advaita Siddhi in 3 days. The Guru was totally surprised. He said, I took 40 years to get into realization by hard practice of meditation, concentration. I could get that. But this disciple has achieved in 3 days. That is Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna has come to show us how to do spiritual practice, how we should adopt spiritual ideals in our life. Everything Swamiji has cleared up, has clearly stated. Please read Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Every page is a spiritual treasure. Every page. Read sincerely. Read line by line and practice it. Practice is important. Practice is important. So, let us do that and try to realize the truth. Thank you very much. Any questions?
What is the meaning of?
He was alone. Only one person sitting. There were no disciples there. So he came there and requested him, Master, can I become your disciple? Shankara accepted. All right, come. So Ugra Bhairava won the confidence of all other disciples and Shankaracharya by his conduct. But inside he was cunning. He was waiting for the opportunity to kill Shankara. So one day he simply dropped flat at the feet of Shankaracharya and began to weep bitterly, crying. Shankaracharya, out of compassion for him, asked him, urged him to speak out. Don't be afraid. Whatever is in your heart, spell out. It was a Guru's commitment to remove the sorrow of one who had taken refuge in him. Because you are my disciple, I have accepted you as my disciple. So it's my duty to remove suffering from you. So open your mind. What is that bothering you to make you weep? Shankaracharya, out of his compassion, infinite compassion for the disciple, he offers him, he urges him to open up his mind and to talk to him fearlessly. Whatever that is in the mind, let it come out. If the poison is there, let the poison come out. Then Ugra Bhairava said, Master, I have been worshipping Lord Shiva for several years with intense desire that I should live in Kailas with my physical body. I have been blessed with the boon that if I offer as sacrifice the head of an all-knowing one or a king, my desire would be fulfilled. I have no doubt that you are a Sarvajna, all-knower. Not only that, you are also merciful. That means he wants to sacrifice Shankara's head so that he can go to Kailas in his physical body. Look at the fun. Shankaracharya, as I said, fearless. Abhihi. There was another person who was totally fearless, and that was Vivekananda. There is no trace of fear in the personality of Vivekananda. Strength. He meant spiritual strength, unparalleled strength. Strength coming from the realization of the truth. Then Shankaracharya said without any hesitation, all right, but please note, if my disciples come to know of your plan, it may not become possible. So, Shankaracharya is telling him, you must carry out your plans in such a way that my disciples should not know. If they know it, you can't achieve what you wanted to do. Then Ugra Bhairava said, well, in order to carry out his plan, Now he is spelling out clearly. Sir, there is a place of worship for Bhairava in nearby thick forest. There I shall make all arrangements for the worship and the sacrificial offering of the head. If you would come there at midnight on the next new moon day, that is Amavasya day, there won't be any obstacle. I shall meet you midway and escort you to the place of worship where I want to offer your head. Now everything is spelled out clearly. Shankaracharya came to know what his desire was, and as he promised him earlier, he agreed to go. Well, I will come. Because Shankaracharya had no attachment to his body. What is that? The body has to go somewhere, someday or another. So if this body is helpful to this fellow, let him be happy. As I said, without any trace of fear, without shaking his body, without becoming nervous. Simply, he went there at the appointed time. What happened was, it was midnight, all the disciples who were with Shankaracharya were all asleep. So, Guru Bhairava was very happy to see Shankara came as he was told, and he brought him to the middle of the forest. A dim light lit before the Kanaka Kala Bhairava Murti. There is the image which he was worshipping. Kala Bhairava Murti. A small lamp was burning there. So, that form was very terrible form. The altar was ready, and a few trident bearing Kapalikas were ready at hand to do the bidding of Ugra Bhairava. They were just waiting for the orders so that they can cut off the head of Shankara and offer the blood to Bhairava Swami, to the Murti. So he folded his hands. Then Ugra Bhairava addressed Shankaracharya, Sir, please place your head on this altar, that is sacrificial altar, and I shall offer the sacrifice for doing which I have been waiting all these years. Now I am very lucky I got you, and I am happy I can offer your head to the deity. Then Acharya Shankara said, well, let me first offer my worship to Mahadeva and go into Samadhi, then you may carry out your wish. So, time seemed to stand still. Even as the glistening hatchet of Ugra Bhairava rose high to come down, immediately what happened was, there was a paralyzing roar of a lion, and Ugra Bhairava lay dead on the ground. There was one disciple, his name was Padmapada. His chosen deity was Ugra Narasimha Murti. Narasimha is noted for Ugra, who killed Hiranyakashipu. Narasimha. Head is lion, the rest of the body is human. This one is called Narasimha. So, somehow he sensed some danger to Shankara, this disciple, Padmapada. He came running to the place. And because he had mastered his devotion to Narasimha Murti, he just prayed to Narasimha Murti. And he had dramatically materialized on the scene. And that is the roaring lion that made Ugru Bhairava dead on the ground. Compassionate Acharya, when he came out of the Samadhi, realized that the time for his departure from the world had not yet come. He had pity for Ugra Bhairava, who had now learned the lesson that the body was not to be identified with Atman. Anyway, there are so many stories are there which you please read in the book, and you will understand more about Shankara's life and great teachings. He wrote Bhashya, commentaries on Brahma Sutras, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. His commentaries are very famous. All the commentaries are available in Sanskrit and English, both. Still you need a teacher to study them in depth. And he has composed many Vedantic texts also. Atma Bodha, Drigdashya Viveka, Aparokshanbhuti, Anandalahari, Vivek Chudamani. These are all Vedantic textbooks. They are all very uplifting teachings. So please read all these things and feel comfortable in the path of knowledge. Don't think path of knowledge is meant only for selected few. Everyone is qualified. Only the desire should be there. Desire to learn, to acquire wisdom, to remove all dirty impurities from the mind, to clean up the mind, cleansing the mind, cleansing. Unless the mind is cleansed, you can never go one step forward in spiritual life. With these words I conclude my talk. Thank you very much. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. May the Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May our knowledge be fruitful and enlightened. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.